Welcome to another episode of Lineage Speaks, the podcast. I'm your host, Martelena Donterpel, and this season we're featuring authors from the book Divinity Speaks, women who tune in and trust divine inspiration. This episode, we have Alicia Greenleaf. Alicia Greenleaf is the founder of Be the Glow. She helps entrepreneurial women break cycles of dis-ease and transform generational trauma. She guides women back to their inner goddess through breathwork, the emotion code, the body code, Kundalini yoga, and all things woo. She lives by the motto, you take out the garbage regularly so your house doesn't stink, but when was the last time you dumped your subconscious garbage? She has helped hundreds of women since her diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis over 15 years ago, as she guides them to reconnect with what they already have within themselves that they have forgotten over a lifetime of cultural programming. She lives in Scottsdale, Arizona, with her partner in life, Tank, who is a magician, and their Pomchi, Penny.
Chapter 9, My Body is My Compass. Your body is fighting itself. This has been the answer to the question, what caused the rheumatoid arthritis? The same answer for the last 15 years from every Western medicine rheumatologist I have seen. No doctor outside my Ayurvedic doctor can explain to me why or where the rheumatoid arthritis came from. How is that possible? Oh, right. There's no money for big pharma if you're healthy. I knew deep in my soul there had to be another way to handle this dreadful diagnosis. Rheumatoid arthritis, also known as RA, at the age of 21. I was sitting in my 2007 Phantom Purple Mica Mazda 3 talking to my dad 3,000 miles across the country back in New Hampshire. Sitting in my car with the sunshade up, blocking the hot Arizona sun, as I bawled my eyes out, feeling so much resentment to the universe for doing this to me. This was the worst life sentence I could have received. We're talking deep victim mentality and shame around this prognosis. The doctor informed me that there was no cure for RA. I would be dealing with pain for the rest of my life, likely be on disability and wheelchair bound by the time I was 30. Thankfully, my father did what fathers do, and did his best to be positive and support me the best he could through the phone, blurting out his plan to come and help me figure this out as soon as possible. After the initial shock, I decided to get a second opinion because I felt I had lost all power to the doctor who announced this horrible prognosis. Deep down, I knew something else was true. My poor body was so weak and worn down. I just didn't have it in me to fight or question. I chose to go to another doctor and start again. She was a little more positive with, sometimes it goes into remission if we layer the medication properly. Even in a state of confusion, a red flag arose. Layering of medication? What the fuck does that mean? I blurted out at her. She explained, starting with steroids, methotrexate, then add on a TNF blocker, and even pain pills to get more relief. And since these medications have side effects, they added another drug that helps calcium absorption, which tasted like the nastiest chocolate ever eaten, was chewy, and got stuck in my teeth. Absolutely horrendous. I began to wonder if the side effects of the medication I was taking were worse than the actual dis-ease. So the methotrexate, pain pills, and chocolate calcium lasted about a week since I was either sick to my stomach, vomiting, and/or dizzy. At this point, I disassociated from my body. I was working full-time and going to school. I felt so alone because there was no one my age who I knew who had anything like this. And when I told people what I had, they said, "Oh, arthritis like old people have?" which made me feel even shittier. So at the age of 21, I was depressed, alone, and feeling totally unsupported because once I took the steroids, most of the physical symptoms went away. For years, I never really told people except my closest circle. what I was silently going through. People just knew me as a healthy girl because I was eating so cleanly. Otherwise, I might get a flare, meaning my body would get inflamed and hurt a lot. It's frustrating to look back to this 21-year-old version of me who is so broken, disconnected, and unloved. I looked for love in men instead of myself. I wanted a man to love me in a way I didn't know how to love myself. And because I didn't know my own truth, I blame them for not being who I thought they were when we started dating. Finding the smallest, stupidest thing to get mad at, I'd blow it up and break up with them. I spent a good part of my 20s trying to find the magical doctor, modality, or procedure that would cure the RA. Again, despite what every rheumatologist told me, I knew there were answers. I tried everything from chiropractic, massage, acupuncture, energy work, leech therapy, colonics, gluten-free, dairy-free, nightshade-free diets, sauna, naturopathic, high-dose vitamin protocols, herbs, network chiropractic. It was all so overwhelming. I worked with so many teachers and support along the way. As I look back, Divinity spoke to me at all times. Sometimes I listened, sometimes I didn't. Almost every time I went to the rheumatologist, it would be a new face because the last guy always wanted to push their agenda on me. Never listening to my needs and desires, telling me I was wrong and my desire to manage the RA with nutrition, yoga, and other modalities would not help. According to them, only their prescribed medications would work. For about 5 years, I was on autopilot, doing what I needed to survive. I was having a lot of sex with a lot of guys because in those moments of orgasmic ecstasy, I felt alive in my body. For that split second, I was able to feel something other than pain. I would feel love. It was very external and conditional. At the time, I thought I was loving myself, but looking back on it, it wasn't love. It was covering a dark hole I wasn't willing to look at. It kept me safe because it was just sex and getting fucked, literally and figuratively, as I later realized. I didn't have to open my heart. I could keep the walls up. Walls from when my mom left when I was 6, and when I got my heart broken from my high school sweetheart at the age of 16. Then I found someone who mirrored me. I knew deep in my soul it wouldn't work, but I had to dive into this committed relationship because there was a sense of safety. It filled that yearning to be loved. Then around my 29th birthday, I had a really bad pain in my left knee and woke up with a huge cyst behind my knee. I went to the doctor and was told, it's part of the RA. As you get older, things like that will happen more frequently. I was frustrated, angry, and began to feel a lot of guilt and shame for ignoring my body for the last 8 years, suppressing the symptoms with medication. That was when I knew deep in my soul the reason I had RA was to show the world it was possible to heal my body. If a woman can grow a baby in her body for 9 months, why couldn't I reverse the disease within my body? As Divinity spoke through me and I was beginning to pay more attention to the signs pointing me in the right direction, a friend who was told she couldn't become pregnant was able to conceive a baby within 6 months of starting the protocol. So I decided to call her practitioner. She spoke to me in a way that resonated so deeply in my soul. She started to give me answers I had never received from any Western doctor. Finally, I thought I had found a solution. I spent the next year getting off the steroids and TNF blockers. I was finally free of Western medication, my dream since the original diagnosis. I was managing the food I ate, no cow dairy, wheat, and only high enzyme foods. I was finally repairing my gut, plus taking lots of herbs to repair and nurture my system along with doing emotion code. Overall, I was doing very well. Even though I had lost a lot of weight from the changes in meds, I was finally caring for myself in a whole new way. Then that oh so new and fun relationship from a few years ago took a turn when he held up a mirror for me. Looking back on it, everything he did that upset me was a reflection of something in myself I didn't like or had disassociated from years ago. Most of his friends were females, which brought up so much jealousy in me. I realized this stemmed from all those years ago when my dad was dating women and gave more attention to them, and I became the third wheel. A normal family dynamic, but when I went from having 100% of dad's attention because I am an only child to only 50%, it was an issue that suppressed my true feelings. I wanted to be perfect for my dad and not be like my mom or most women. So as we fell into each other's emotional traumas, our relationship declined. I began to be dismissive and distant, resenting him, being jealous, and finally having him ask me if I still loved him. No. Here we go again with another relationship not working. But then I had an epiphany. I was at the center of every relationship that hadn't worked out. I was part of the problem. It was my internal world that was creating these situations to happen in my external world. Finding my inner goddess. The end of that relationship led me to a whole new beginning for the first time in my life. As I was living in my own apartment, I began to really look at who I was. What were my dreams? What did I want to accomplish in my life? And how was I going to once and for all heal from the RA? So began my introduction to breathwork. More time to attend yoga classes, spending time relaxing in a way that truly nourished my exhausted and overwhelmed nervous system. I went that entire year without a TV. I read a lot. I got so much clearer on who I was. I began to realize the trauma from my childhood, which I had suppressed, was surfacing. I also became very clear my why was to share my experience with the world, so no woman has to feel as unsupported as I did. I even met a very kind man who was nothing like my wish list desires, the complete opposite of any other man I had ever dated. He supported me in a way I had never felt before. He voluntarily asked to go to the rheumatologist with me and pushed me to go to the best that I had dreamed of going to, despite being out of network and pricey. I intuitively knew that I had to keep looking at my options until I found a doctor who would at least listen to me. That day came when I went to Dr. Howard. He finally listened to my needs and desires. However, he also asked for me to reciprocate. Wow, this was all new for me. So I shared my story, tears running down my face, and my beautiful partner Tank held my hand as I began to release 10 years of feeling so unsupported. I listened to what he had to say. After the last 3 years of completely being off RA medications and doing the 100% herbal route, that too had taken a huge toll on my body. My fingers had begun to become disfigured. I had lost so much weight. I was down to 80 pounds. And I was still in pain and experiencing inflammation. Here I was fighting my body yet again and not listening to all the signs of dis-ease because I was taking the healthy route, which I took a very strong stance on. This was a crossroads for me to understand an even deeper balance. As Dr. Howard explained, we needed to use Western medicine to reduce the current flare state while I continued doing all the healthy modalities. He explained how we could integrate it all and work to wean off Western medicine eventually, but it was vital to my physical being to intervene with the drugs I had sworn away only a few years earlier. This allowed me the best of both worlds. My body flourished with this new integration. This was the beginning of a whole new realization for me, since most of my life had been extremes. He mentioned a new drug in pill form instead of shots. This made me feel so much better because I knew my body now. I could easily digest this since I was now setting intentions with any food, herb, or vitamin that went into my body. As I started taking this new drug, I wrote on the bottle, health, love, compassion, and forgiveness. I wanted to make sure the energy of this pill was as high as possible. Over the next month, I came back to life. I was gaining weight, I was feeling less pain, and I finally got the courage to go to a yoga class and even decided to take yoga teacher training. This doctor showed me a new perspective. I had always thought it was a fight. It had to be this or that. But he helped me see a way of integrating two opposing sides, It allowed my body to integrate the polarization that was taking place physically and mentally in my body. My new partner, Tank, supported me when I told him I would be dedicating my weekends to trainings for almost 9 months. A lot of old programs came up that he would leave me or cheat on me. As I spent the next 9 months going through teacher training, the pandemic hit. The weekend everything shut down in March of 2020, I was at a silent retreat for the Kundalini Yoga teacher training. I made a pact to myself that within the next year, I would be teaching yoga full-time. I was done with corporate America. And Divinity spoke to me yet again. I had a voicemail on the very next day from my boss who said, "I'm sorry to let you know you have been furloughed for at least a month." My prayers had been answered. It was time for me to start my own business. Thinking this would be an easy endeavor, I took the first month to just relax and let my body flow into this new routine. Then Daisy, my Shih Tzu of 14 years, who was like my daughter, passed away. I took an emotional hit, but I realized I could focus on my business 100% without interruption, so I decided to get certified in emotion code and body code. Thankfully, with all this extra time on my hands, I was really able to focus on my health and healing. In June of 2020, for the first time in over a decade, my lab work came back showing all the markers for RA were in the normal range. Wait, so it was easy as focusing my time on me? What a blessing I received. Not at all how I thought it was going to look, but that is a beautiful thing with divinity. It almost never looks the way we want or think it will. Now, I knew it was time to go full steam ahead to make my company Be the Glow a huge success. But you know, as divinity would have it, it didn't work out that way. I began breath facilitator training from my longtime teacher, Zach. This began to reveal an even deeper level of trauma and cultural conditioning. So I spent the next year really working on myself even more, creating a deeper connection with my soul, even with those parts of me I had disliked and pushed away for so long. I knew this was an integral part of my healing and began sharing this work with the world. I watched not only myself, but my clients transform to a new level I never even expected to see happen. One client decided to buy a boat and live on the ocean. He began to embody the oneness we all dream of connecting with. Another took back her power, learned to set boundaries like she had never done before, transforming her life and relationships. Another began to feel in her body and connect even deeper to her inner knowing, magically transforming her life. Then I got comfortable. I started to go back to the busy life, old patterns, not eating as healthily as I desired, and the RA slowly creeped back. But this time, I had a greater awareness and knew it wasn't what I thought it was. I began to dig even deeper into my parents' divorce, previous relationships, and life choices and how it was affecting me on a much deeper level. It was frustrating, but it allowed me to look even deeper in the safety I found within the dis-ease. And then came the question, who would I be without this condition? The RA has shaped my life and divinely guided me through the past 15 years and continues to guide me to look at what I need to release to get to the next level. The times my left hand hurts and I uncover some deeper understanding, I realize it's not about the RA diagnosis or prognosis. It is that I have turned my body into its own compass to show me what to do next, how to stay in my flow and follow my divine guidance to make a larger impact in my life, community, family, and the world. I have no idea if the RA will ever be gone medically, but I do know that the symptoms of it will disappear as I continue to clear out the subconscious garbage that I have picked up from my environment. I also know that the diagnosis 15 years ago reminded me of my soul's mission in the world to illuminate the innate healing potential in myself and each and every soul I meet. My physical body is here on this journey with me, always showing my next step. And do I choose to listen to it? Yes, I do. And I hope you do too. You are your best advocate. Don't let anyone take that away from you. Listen to your body. Believe in your body. It is here supporting you every moment, despite what those around you may say. Divinity Speaking. You take out the garbage regularly so your house doesn't stink. But when was the last time you dumped your subconscious garbage?
Thank you for listening. All proceeds go to elamugirls.com, a nonprofit helping women in Kenya escape poverty, sex tourism, and genital mutilation by teaching them to sew and giving them a choice, a voice, and a bank account. Please subscribe, rate, and review us if our stories help you on your journey. Follow us on Instagram at Lineage Speaks the podcast. Until the next episode, honor the light within you and let it guide your way on.